melt is when I'm ocean wave.
Tonight on Level Legends podcast, I have my boys basketball coaches panel. We're going to do a mid-season update, see how the teams, the players, what's been going on in Northern Virginia. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah. Well, before we get this, the kind of the update on the top teams and players in the region, let's go through, introduce the coaches, and you guys can give us a quick update on your team. We're going to go in order of on my screen. Let's go David Houston from West Potomac first. Can you hear me, Dave? All right, let's go Mike Desmond for South Lakes first.
Mike Desmond, South Lakes. We've been playing some pretty good ball lately. I'm pleasantly surprised on our progress with a group that started out young that we're not allowed to say that they're young anymore.
Yeah. You definitely have some young talent, but by mid-season you gain a lot of experience by playing all those games, and you have kids that you had to throw into the fire pretty quickly. David, you're good? Okay. David Houston, West Potomac.
Yep. Sorry about that. Thanks for having me on again. So we're West Potomac doing. Midway through, we're 3-3 in our conference. We've won our last 3 games, really good games against Madison, Alexandria City, and West Springfield. I can call my guys young because I still have freshmen and sophomores, so I'll call them still young, and my young guys are getting the chance. My old guys are stepping up when they need to, so I think we're playing kind of good basketball right where we need to be early in the midway in the conference play.
Coach, 2 great wins. I know Alexandria City was a great win. I got the chance to see a part of that. And then what was your second big win you had this week?
We played West Springfield a couple nights ago, but we played Madison last Saturday.
Yeah.
So Madison was a really strong game for us.
I think Madison was one that surprised some folks. They had only lost 1 or 2 games coming in, so that's a great win. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's go to Coach Sherman Rivers from Patriot. Now, Sherman owns a distinction of being the person who's been on my podcast the most. I mean, people say, well, you got to start giving Sherman credit. You got to put him in the credits because he's been on the show so much. But Coach Sherman,
production credit, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't pay much. But you had a great win on Friday. I was able to be in the house to see you guys beat an undefeated Battlefield team. But give us an update on your team.
I'm happy with the progress we're making. We're sitting at 12-2. Obviously, the first one losing to Los and them to start the season. That was at the buzzer. The second one was to Middletown, who's one of the favorites to win in Delaware. I think last I checked, they were ranked like number 3, and that one was by 2. So, plugging along through district play, 8-0 now. We'll have a couple more out of district games. With Largo next Saturday and that Capital Hoops event, and that one's going to be televised. And then LC Bird that following Wednesday is going to come to us. That'll be another tough out of district test for us to see. So I like the way that we're going. I like the way that we're reacting to adverse situations at times. So hopefully we can keep getting ourselves ready for the big time stuff in February and hopefully into March.
LC Bird is coached by Troy Manns, played at Patrick Henry and also played at George Mason for a while. Hopefully he'll give you guys some competition. But you guys look great the other day. How important was the win against Battlefield?
It was important for district standings, but a regular season game. We're not going to pretend like it wasn't important for us from a rivalry standpoint. But when we talked about whether it being a do or die situation, it wasn't. It was more ego driven. I know I have mine at times. So anytime we can beat them, I'm happy about it. And I'll leave it at that for right now.
All right, we'll call them the purple guys, not Battlefield, right? So
right.
Yeah. So Coach Bentley, I went to see Coach play Marshall, and Marshall is one of the hottest teams in the area. They're playing great ball, great defense. And Coach Bentley's team, it was a tough game, tough night for them. But I have to give Coach Bentley credit. I don't like when I go watch a team play and the coach only stands up when things are going well, because he's like, he's basking in the glory. Coach Bentley was down 15 much of the game, and he coached until the very end. Was very positive. He did a great job, coach, that night, and you've been rewarded. Your team has a couple of big wins this week over your I know one of your best friends, Bobby Dobson. So why don't you update us on your team?
Thank you for reminding me that we were down 15 most of the game against Marshall, but I didn't think we were down that much. But anyway, it was a good game. I mean, you guys know, been doing this forever. You don't just coach in the first quarter. You got to coach all 4 quarters, no matter what. And then I saw some things in that game that I think that we could do the next time we play them. So you got to continue coaching. And you're right, it paid off. We had a big win against our rival, WNL, on Tuesday. It was a great atmosphere, great crowd. The whole thing went into overtime, and it was a great game. We were fortunate enough to pull it out. And then played West Springfield yesterday and got a victory as well. I think we're sitting at 3-2 in our conference with one more game left. We played everybody in the conference except for Yorktown, and we played them on Tuesday. So I think my guys are, I know who we have, I know who we are. And we're kind of peaking, but I don't want to say anything about peaking right now, because as soon as I do this, tomorrow we'll have the worst day of practice ever. So right now we're just playing okay basketball.
Coach, I know that Bobby's gone through some unspeakable tragedy this season. Are you surprised that they've been human this year? I mean, we had a call before the season, and they're widely predicted as one of the top picks for the area. But they've had some challenges. Are you surprised they've had a relatively?
I don't think none of us on this panel will want to be in Bobby's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the longest tenured coach at one school, having to deal with this, and he has no answers. We talk often, and they are struggling. They're really struggling, and whether it's winning or losing, the effect of losing a brother, you can't. There's no book. We can't go to a book and try to figure this out, or can't email the VHSL and say, how do we do this? This is something that he's going through, that we would not wish on anyone, and I know a lot of those kids on that team, and yeah, they are struggling. Bobby's struggling. So it's just a rough situation for them in that school, and it's never going to end. You don't just say, well, it's going to end when the season's over. These kids are going to carry this the rest of their lives. So it's a situation. I hope that things start to get better for them, but it's always going to be a struggle for them. And Bobby too. We always talk about the kids, and we never talk about the coaches. And Bobby's a human. He's tough on referees and all of that good stuff. He's hurting, and I can say that because that's my guy, and he's definitely hurting. He might not show you or show anybody, but behind closed doors with his players, they're hurting, and they're hurting together. So I'm hoping that things get better for them before the end of the season.
Well, it was a great environment at the Yorktown game. Both teams, both cheering sections, both groups of supporters for each team had on jerseys, T-shirts that commemorated the guy that was killed. What was Tony? What was his name again?
Braden Mead.
Braden Mead. Yeah. It was a great environment, very positive environment. Tough game for Washington.
And I think every time he plays, like the other night I went to the game. They had the Hall of Fame ceremony at Washington Liberty, and I was there because one of my former players was getting inducted, and we had the night off, which is great. So they're playing against McLean, and McLean comes out with the shirts to honor. So that it's just memories that over time, teams are doing that for WNL, but I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good on the part of the opposing teams, but it's just reminders and reminders for those kids at every single moment. And they also have the jersey of Braylon on the bench. They have the parents, at the end of the shaking hand lines when they do the introductions. It's so much going on, man, for those kids and for Bobby. So it's tough situation.
Yeah, terrible situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Coach Carlos Poindexter from Hayfield. Another great start to your season. Your 40-game winning streak was broken against Jackson Reed, the former Woodson in DC. But you guys bounced back. Really nice win yesterday against very easy win against Potomac, surprisingly easy. Thank goodness I got in without paying that day. But how about you, Coach? You've had a great start to your season. What's your update and how you guys looking for the rest of the season?
Yeah. I mean, it was a bummer that we lost that game to Jackson Reed. A good hard-fought game. We didn't close the deal on our end, but getting into district play, I mean, Addison gave us a run for our money all the way through. From start to finish, it was a good game. Man, they're pretty good. If people don't really know, like Trey got them boys playing pretty well right now, and so now now it's just about finishing up our first round of conference and then starting our second round next Friday. So we got them, and then we got Eleanor Roosevelt on Saturday, and then I think Eleanor Roosevelt is like our last non-conference game, and then everything else is just conference. So just plugging away, still trying to fine-tune our defense. I felt like our defense was crap on Friday versus Edison, so I kind of challenged our guys, and they performed this past Saturday versus Potomac, and put on a defensive clinic on versus Potomac, and held those two. Like the Kenny kid, I think he only had 3 points, and Jaden had 5 points, and both of those guys have been well above double digits throughout their whole season. So testament to our guys that really had the job of guarding those guys. So keeping it moving along.
Is it a bummer that it's most of your headline type competitions behind you and it's mostly just district play, or is it easier to focus that way? That now we have to start playing the teams that we need to beat to go. If we want to get back to back again, these are the teams we have to beat.
I mean, either or. We just whoever was signed up to play. We just getting ready for that particular game. Yeah. I wish we had John Marshall one more time so that we could settle that deal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that'd be great. VHL has them in class 2. I mean, this is just ridiculous. They're going to have to beat Radford to win a state championship again. So this is where we are. I feel. I mean, look, no aspersions to Radford. I feel bad for them. I mean, whoever's in that spot, they have to play. One of the best teams in the country. A AAU team for a state title doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach Doug Craig from Woodson. Has a very young team, but you guys had a really nice win yesterday against Woodbridge. Why don't you catch us up on your season?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on again.
Sure.
It's been a struggle. We're currently 4-9, and we have, I think of those 9 losses, I think 6 of them we've been in a 3-point or less game with 4 minutes or so left in the game, and we find new and inventive ways. It seems like every night to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We even lost a game in a double overtime this year up in a Christmas tournament. We have it on film. We were up 3 with 4.9 seconds to go. They dribbled the length of the floor, threw it to a kid on the wing who caught the ball. The buzzer went off, 0.0 on the clock. He caught the ball, dipped down, elevated, jumped, shot his jump shot with full extension and banked it in 1.1 seconds after the clock, and they counted it good, and we lost in double overtime. It's a first for me. And honestly, I think emotionally that set us back for a couple of weeks. I think our kids really took that loss hard. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, and the officials were great all game. They just missed the call. But we've lost in all different kinds of ways. I do feel like we're starting to play a little better. We've made some switches, some things defensively that we're doing a little different now than we've done in the past. That's, I feel like, gotten the game more at our pace of what we're able to play at. And we have some kids, we have some young guys who are getting better. And I think we've played better. I think we won, 2 out of our last 3 games. Played really well against Lake Braddock last week on Monday and won that game pretty easily. And then, we lost a really tough one to Alexandria City Thursday night, game that we had the lead at halftime. It was a very close game late. They made some free throws to kind of make it a 10-point game, but it was very close, nip and tuck the whole way. Did a really good job on their best player. He was averaging 22 points a game, held him to 15. We just didn't quite make enough shots down the stretch to win the game. And then we played pretty well yesterday against Woodbridge. I thought defensively we controlled the game, and then kind of broke out like in the last 10 minutes or so to kind of pull away and get a fairly easy victory. So I feel like we're playing a little better. I do feel like we're playing a little better. I think it helps. I think our league is down a little bit this year. I think a lot of teams are like us. They're kind of younger groups that are, trying to figure some things out. Our league had a lot of really good seniors last year and graduated a lot of kids. And I think it's just looking around the landscape of the Patriot district, just seems like there's a lot of kind of younger groups that are trying to find their way, including us. And, it seems like all the games are pretty close and, can kind of go either way. So hopefully we'll find a way second time through district to win a few more than we won the first time through.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. And it was a great win. I was able to sit next to the guy that you eventually replaced, Red Jenkins, yesterday, and he had good things to say about Woodson. Let's start right there. What do you guys think about these one-day showcase type events where, in the middle of district play, the games that mean the most, you guys are playing kind of random teams, and not necessarily on a home court, a neutral court often. Are these events good ideas? Are you guys supportive? I mean, I know for a team like Hayfield, Coach Carlos, when your team is favored to win, it's probably some welcome competition midseason. But what do you guys think about these one-day events? You think it's a good thing, and would you like to see more of these type events? Who wants to go first?
I'll talk. I think they're good. A lot of times it gives you an opportunity to see somebody that you wouldn't see. It gives you a look that you might not get, from both sides of it, trying to grow your program and to kind of promote it. I remember, really wanting to be a part of the Virginia prep stuff that they used to do and making that trip. And now I don't want to drive down to the beach on Saturday after playing Friday night. So I'm glad that we got some stuff that's kind of local for us to do that we don't have to and still get good competition in. So I think that they serve a good purpose. I think it's good for the kids. I think it's good for everybody else to get maybe some basketball matchups that they don't normally see. We talked about Los in his game yesterday. I know it was disappointing with the end, but it was some hype around that. The thing that we're Los playing next Saturday, we're playing the same event. That's a big thing, I feel like, and seeing some teams playing each other, normally see. So I like it. I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah. So what Coach Sherman's referring to an event at DeMatha, Patriot is playing Largo, I believe, or
Correct.
Yes. And then Hayfield is playing Eleanor Roosevelt, two perennial powers in Maryland. They're not setting the world on fire this year, but those are guys that can play and that can be dangerous. Anyone else want to chime in on the one-day showcase or the midseason?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think when you have teams like Patriot, Hayfield, you got to challenge yourself. Back in the days, it was tougher to try to win a state championship. Now with all the different regions, everybody gets a trophy. So you can't say that Hayfield, Patriot didn't do or didn't duck anybody. Carlos is still trying to play John Marshall. You know what I mean? So when you talk about things like that, when you get an opportunity to play a high-ranked team or whatever, to prepare yourself for, what's going to take place in the state tournament, I think it's a great deal. And I'm glad that we are on this end now. Like you said, driving down to the beach, trust me, when I had good teams, we used to take that trip, man, and go down there after Friday night. And now we're Northern Virginia basketball. We can get those guys to come up here. You know what I mean? So I think it's great to start to open the doors up more. And it's only going to help your team in the end.
You have a good team, Coach. My son, when you guys play Marshall, he says, "Dad, these guys can play. This ain't the night, but you watch. These guys can play." So my son is a big believer in you guys.
Your son also plays soccer, right?
Yeah, he plays.
You don't know. I'm just kidding.
He's a great midfielder. But but he's got a good opinion. Who else?
I'll talk. We're actually headed down in a couple weeks down to Matt Hatfield's event down February 4th. They got us. He's got us scheduled against Menchville. Apparently, was undefeated and the number 1 ranked team in the state 5A. Obviously, we're not at the level this team I have this year is just kind of a young team, maybe not quite at the same level that we've been at in years past, but I think it's important. I mean, I think number one, I feel like it's important for our programs up here to go down places like Matt's events, because Matt does so much to promote basketball around the state for all of us. And there's so few outlets that cover high school basketball anymore. And he's one of the ones who does. So I always feel like every couple of years, we're always going to make a trip down there to support him in his event. I know he likes to get, programs from up north that do have some history and tradition to come down and play. So teams down there and people down there can see the teams play. Because if you're a basketball fan down in Virginia Beach, you hear a lot about a Wakefield or a Patriot or Hayfield or West Potomac and the South Lake. Some of these tradition Woodson, these tradition rich kind of programs, they want to see these teams play, and they can't come up here on a Tuesday night and watch Patriot and Battlefield go at each other. But if they get a chance to bring one of those teams down, match them up with a good team down there, I think it's fun. I think it's fun for the kids. I think the kids enjoy playing somebody different and kind of going somewhere and seeing different teams. And, playing your district can get monotonous, especially now when, I know our team with an 18 district, you play 14 district games. That's a lot. That's 2/3 of your season. It's nice to mix it up with somebody different, kind of break it up. These events can be fun. They can also be a time where you can sometimes get some guys in games because they're not as, pressure packed. They're not district games. They don't really count, in the standings. You can get some guys in and get some guys a chance to play maybe some minutes that they wouldn't normally get and give kids a chance to develop a little bit. So I'm in favor of it. I told Coach Marshall over West Springfield, as long as he's willing to have us over there, we'll continue to play in their event. I think the same thing with Matt Hatfield. We're going to head down there in a couple weeks because we haven't been down there in a few years, and I just think it's important to support those outlets that support us.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a new development. It's something this didn't exist when I played, and I actually love it. It's great having these very unique matchups. Anyone else want to jump in here? Or?
Well, I'll take the. I'm a fan of any event and supporting any event. I'll talk for some of the younger coaches that are trying to get in that I've heard talking. I know when I first started coaching, the kind of the rule was, don't cross the bridge unless you're ready to cross the bridge. And you pick a bridge, pick one, north, east, whatever. And I hear some people, and it's not always just about the wins and losses of the game. And I know I've heard some younger coaches getting in and just wanting to go to these events and not realizing like the coaches that are, talking that are, prepared to go and travel these ways and put a lot of time into making, their team one that can actually handle even a loss, traveling and getting beat, and then traveling back, it's not always easy to do. So I support the events. I used to certainly not like them as much because I thought it was too much risk of injury in the middle of district play. But, and it's a kind of a back-to-back, but that essentially nowadays is how the regional tournament is. You're playing, a lot of games in just a few days. So the way, I look at it is it's an opportunity to kind of prepare for the end of the season and how it's going to go. You don't have a lot of time to practice in between. You don't know much, little about the game, the team you're playing, but it's kind of more about you than the other team. So for that, so I personally like it, but I've heard some younger coaches and some new programs talking about they want to go to Matt Hatfield's event and all this stuff. No, you don't, not yet, a couple years.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Coach Mike, Coach Carls, you guys want to jump in here? Or?
I mean, we haven't done one since I took over, and definitely something we talked about. Probably the best one-day event that I think I could schedule or look forward to would be to take Doug Craig to a barber and fix his hair. So, I mean, that to me would probably be the best one-day bump thing we could pull off next season. And that better just not my team, but his team and pretty much all of basketball, I think.
We'll do a one-day event and get Coach Craig a lineup. Coach Carlos, I know from your point of view, you guys were undefeated except for the Jackson Reed game. It's nice to have to really have to get up for an opponent that has as much talent as you have.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely support them. I've always, seeing Bentley and Terry do it for years prior to me being able to do it with my teams. I always loved the fact that they always went out and competed in those type of events. And like now that we have the type of teams to go out and do it, it's great for us to go out there and compete and and put on for our community, Hayfield, Northern Virginia, blah blah blah, whatever else. So it's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully people, like Mike Des, get in one next year. Des, you got the top sophomore in our area. Get in one next year.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about NFHS video. Coach Sherman has taken time to go on NFHS. and delete all of his videos so his opponents can't easily scout his game.
Hey, listen, don't do that. No, don't do that. I have done no such thing. Do not put credence to someone's lie that wanted to jump in my comments like we're friends.
Yeah, so there was a fun exchange on Twitter this week about that. So we touched on a little bit of this last time with Coach Houston was talking about scouting scrimmages. But what about coaches? What responsibility do the coaches have to leave videos up on the internet? So they're more easily scouted by future opponents. How do you guys feel about that issue?
Hey,
Well,
I'm gonna say that.
let me say
Okay,
something real
go.
quick so I get
Go,
mine
Sherman.
out the way and then be done with it. All right. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Like I go on the network to watch other people. I do not control our content on the network. When I said what I had to say is because I was in the process of trying to search people and watch them on the network. When he said that, I was like, is that true? I had to go back and look and see. I was like, well, and then, I said, I don't mind people seeing my film. I do not care. I will send it to you myself if you really want to watch it. You know what I'm saying? With the scrimmage stuff, I still think there's an unwritten rule in that you shouldn't. There was a whole thing the other day with some girls coaches where somebody set up a tripod and was recording. Like, you don't do those things. It's not a rule, but I just don't think you should. But like when you have someone that goes out of their way to get their film off of the network 30 minutes after their game is done, you are annoying. You are annoying. You are bothersome. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, however you think these secrets are, you are not fooling anybody. We already know. Just let us watch it. You're going to start telling us we can't come into the gym and watch your games when we come to scout in person? Like, that's insane to me. So that's all. I'm done.
Hey, so,
Coach Carlos, you tried to jump in or?
yeah. So I was gonna say, you got to midnight to check my film, and then that joint coming off. That's the only thing I was gonna say. Other than that, you're gonna have to request it from the team that we played for.
See, I think that's like AD had ours at the same setting. So I was like, I didn't even know. It was only for our home game.
Yeah, nah, ours come at midnight after our game. Ours come off. It's just the varsity. Freshman and JV stay on, but
That was what I was at too.
Varsity come off. It just is what it is.
Well, I mean, you can always change the setting, Coach.
I don't
It is
control the
changed.
setting.
I told my AD to change it. I
I don't
did.
control the setting.
I honestly did.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a different stance. And I'm gonna take a stance on a sense of I don't know if anybody else on here. Oh, Coach Craig is in that situation. So my daughter plays on the girls team at West Potomac. And so the only way that I'm able to even watch their games, because I can't see them live, is on NFHS. And so I've heard some families mention things about like it's down on some people's stuff because the grandma wanted to watch it or so and so the next day. And I always thought like blah, blah, whatever. But now I'm in an actual situation where I get home from an away game, I'm trying to, I might be the next day to watch it. But I'm also from the world of, which I guess Coach Bentley's the only other one in here, maybe Doug, probably you too. We used to meet people for VHS films at a 7-Eleven after a Tuesday night game, 11:30, we get the film, like people are going to be able to get the film one way or another. But I had never really thought about it because we played somebody last year and they took the film down before I even got home off the bus, off of a away game. We got back to school and the joint was gone. But then I realized like actually families, it's really good for them. They pay in, whatever, $12.99 a month. They can't even watch a game. So
yeah, that's
just the other side of the coin. But I get it. I mean, I don't want everybody.
Hey, with that said, I have a link. If any of my parents or family members need to see it, I can send them a link to the game. With that said, I understand what you're saying, but with that said, I got a link for them.
Anybody else want to jump in here, guys?
At the end of the day, what do y'all think college coaches do when they scouting teams? What do they do?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's part of it too.
They get the film. My best friend is at Indiana. He's watching film night in and night day from the opponents. They get the film regardless if you give it to them, if not.
Right.
Film is going to be watched. So shouldn't be a big deal about film. At the end of the day, it's about the Jimmys and Joes. Can you stop? I can watch Carlos all damn day. I have no one on my team that can do anything with, so I can watch film all I want. So I don't even, we can make the big deal about film, and it's a great argument. Sherman, you funny as hell with that. I love it. But at the end of the day, you can watch film on whoever you want. It's about the Jimmys and Joes. And if they're not prepared to play as coaches, we can tell them to be there, take that charge, cut this off, Man, you got guys like DJ and them dudes jumping over top of you and all, man. That film don't mean nothing.
Right.
Protect yourself. That's what we tell our kids. Protect yourself.
Very true.
Tony, the Arlington schools, Coach Bentley, Arlington schools have a great, each school has a great YouTube channel, and you can go back and watch games from months ago. So I can go back and watch my son's soccer games from 2 years ago on Yorktown channel. So we have
I'm gonna say, I have no idea how that's run. We are fortunate enough to have a huddle camera built into the wall.
Yeah.
I can access it through my phone. I can record, stop, and that's it. I don't know what happened.
Bentley, you want to know the thing is, because your school, I might get myself in trouble with this, because I wanted that same huddle camera. I did. And I remember before the COVID stuff came, I was like, can we please get this? Like, no. And then our county decided to get something else that was not a huddle brand.
Yeah.
So that is what we have in our gyms.
Yeah. It's nice. I mean, you just press the button, it just records back and forth. And what I do now, because back in the day, Dave, Doug, y'all, we used to go to games and you have kids, your film crew, they got all the tripods, cameras, and all kinds of things. What I do now is if I'm playing you, I just say, hey, I don't have a camera crew. Can you just send me the game after our game?
Mm-hmm.
Mike, can you send me the game after that game? Boom. Before I got home, Mike had already sent me the tape. I don't have a camera crew anymore. We all have huddle pretty much. We should all give each other at least our game films after our game. Whatever y'all do with before the games, I think y'all are hilarious giving film out on yourself. I think that's great. But I think we all coaches, man. Look, after the game, can you just give me the film of our game? Because I'm not bringing a tripod, 2 kids, and a camera crew to come to the game. So, but yeah, I talked to
Tony. Is that an Arlington thing with the huddle cameras that all Arlington schools get it? You, Wake, WNL, and Yorktown.
We all 3 have it. We were the last to get it, and so, but we all have it, and it's a great. It's just easy. You don't.
It's just automatically uploads.
Yeah, you set the time, and
I want that.
Yeah, you lock it in.
Listen. It was when they advertised that thing, man, I was like, "This is great.
Yeah,
everybody should get it." But we got the knockoff version.
For the record, I would like to point out that Carlos has about 10 camera crews following around his team.
Exactly.
I saw that yesterday.
Hey, Los, man. Hey, listen, you guys missed like 3 alley-oops in the fourth quarter. I mean, Ball is Life mixtapes are going to be very disappointed with your kids for not completing those alley-oops. What is going on over there?
Hey, listen, I can't even say anything because somebody just put out an episode 1 of our joint for the rivalry game, so I ain't even gonna say that.
I thought that was you.
Yeah.
No. But we had a kid coming in recording. Coach said he wanted to work on stuff. I'm like, that's fine.
Coach Carlos has a microphone in his huddle now. So
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's almost like the NBA coverage on TNT. I mean,
gotta promote the kids, right?
Like we got 2. I'm gonna tell you about it. So we got 2. It's 2 teachers. A teacher that goes to Justice and a teacher that teaches at Hayfield. They're both inspiring filmmakers, and they saw an opportunity to promote us and do their thing. So they're basically putting out little episodes, docuseries, so to speak, of about our season, and they call it back. And we'll see how it go. Our first episode is featuring Sherman and their team of our first.
Do you
game.
really have a microphone in your huddles?
Yes.
Nah, they have like a
it's a microphone on the camera that they use.
I was like, damn, I'd get fired, man. If anyone heard what I said.
Well, and let me say this, because I watched the first episode of our joint because it premiered last night, and I'm like, man, this is not all the way edited.
well, at least there was no closed captions, though, Coach. But, so, staying with the Twitter motif for a while, Coach Sherman also was on Twitter yesterday talking about how kids can get all the exposure they need at public schools. You don't have to go to private schools to get exposure. So and I am seeing more and more coverage of high school sports on social media. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys agree? I mean, I definitely do. I definitely think these games are being covered in the day of social media. I think kids at your schools are getting as much publicity as you get, maybe not at Paul VI, but definitely as much as at Flint Hill, where my buddy Jason Coleman's kid plays. So what do you guys think? Are your kids at your public school getting enough exposure so if they're good enough, they can make the next level?
I'll start saying it was my thing. When I was sitting around thinking about it, me and Los talk about this all the time. And I too used to talk about this with Aunt Mills all the time before we even got to Potomac. All I kept saying, like when I first started coaching, I was like, what happened? Like, because like I said, I was gone playing in college, playing overseas. I was like, what happened to how much the public schools were important to all of this, like in Northern Virginia? Because I was gone when the exodus kind of really started happening. And I just was like, what can we do to try to make it that way? And it's like, part of it is like we talk about those little showcases, but the other thing is me and Los talked about is like the matchups, like playing those teams and what Tony's talking about, not ducking sort of competition. I think that a lot of guys got comfortable just playing in their area because it was easy. And didn't keep challenging themselves. So then what happens is now you got kids that look at like, as much as we like, well, it can get monotonous just playing your district teams all the time. Well, the kids think the same thing. And then all of a sudden the internet just blows up. And like you say, you have these ball is life things and you see all these highlight things and all these different type of docuseries things. And they want to be a part of that. So, we played that game last night. We got all these camera people sitting on the baseline. The stands are packed. It's a live broadcast with announcers. And just I'm thinking about with Los's game. We were there. They did their ring ceremony with the video that they had. Just those type of things, as much as like we just want to coach the basketball. They're important. And I think it's important that we do these things to promote our sport and our kids so they don't feel like they have to go somewhere where they can be on a private school team and be like the 10th or 11th kid to get the exposure that they want. They can get it right in their hometown at their public school if it's done the way it's supposed to. And at the end of the day, there's got to be some success too. You got to win. The game's got to be good. It's got to be a good product that's put out there. And, when that's what happens when you play teams that are top level type teams.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach, that was an incredible environment. I'm so glad I went out. I mean, the game, you guys ended up winning pretty comfortably in the second half, but it was an amazing environment. So I'm glad I was there to witness it. Anyone else want to jump in here?
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously this year's team I have this year isn't at the same level that we've been in the past, but when we've had those teams, we used to travel. I know Coach Bentley was the same when he was competing every year. They would be headed down to Matt Hatfield's events and they'd be playing, across the bridge when they could and bringing teams into his place. We for a long time scheduled a WCAC school every year. I mean, either O'Connell or St. John's or Paul VI every year. At least one. Some years we had two of them on the schedule.
Doug, I am interrupting you, but think about if someone was there filming the game that we played y'all in that playoff game.
Yeah.
And it was like something that really got broadcast, a double overtime game. We weren't even anything at that point. And you guys went on and won the whole thing. If that was something that was really put out there. And so, yeah.
For me, it was always about, we've always, through when we had those years, we had, Eric Bowles and John Schoaf and Max Lennox. These were guys that went on to play Division I basketball. I always wanted to schedule those games, a couple games like that every year, just to get film, for film for us. So when college coaches would call me and be like, hey, he's putting up 25 points a game, but who's he playing against? I could send them the film, of Max Lennox playing against O'Connell or, Eric Bowles when we played O'Connell his senior year at home and he scored, 36 points against them. And I say, well, you're recruiting all these kids from O'Connell and Eric was the best player on the floor. And, I don't know. I think, look, here's the whole thing with the private schools. What I tell my kids, sometimes I've had kids come to me and say, Coach, I'm going to go over to PBI. And I tell them the same thing. Look, if you could go over there and be one of their top 6 or 7 players, you should go because they can offer you. First of all, they travel all over the country. The kids don't pay for anything. They're up playing in Massachusetts this weekend. They're playing out in Missouri next weekend. They're playing with 10 other Division I guys. John Calipari showing up at their practices. They can offer them things that I can't. But if you're going to go over there to be the 10th guy, you're just as well off staying at your public school and being a star, where you can have the ball in your hands and you can make plays and win games with your friends in a community that supports you. I think it's a very clear choice. Hey, I would never stop a kid if he was, able to go over and be a starter at PVI or DeMath or something like that. Hey, I'm going to be happy for that kid to get that opportunity. But, if you're going to go over there and be the 12th guy and never see the floor, what's the point? It doesn't matter how good you are if you never play. And I think, at the end of the day, to get better and to get to the next level, you have to play. You have to, get on the floor and have a chance to get better. I think that's an important part of the piece that sometimes people miss. They think just because they're on those teams, they're going to get. And it's like, but when you get there, if you do get to the next level, if you've never played, what's the point? You want to be successful when you get to the next level, right? Like you want to be able to make an impact. I think you have to play to do that. That's just my opinion. Maybe I don't know anything, but that's the conversations I've had with kids in the past.
Well, Coach, you know a lot. I was there at the Marshall Madison game. It was the first game the Norton kid played for Madison, his first game back, transferring back from O'Connell, and he was loving life. Packed house. I mean, it was a great environment. He had a great game. I'm sure inside he was saying, "Man, I don't miss sitting." It was O'Connell or Paul VI, whatever it was. I'm sure he was very happy to be back in the public schools.
Well, here's the thing. It's the same conversation I have with kids when they are being recruited by college and they talk about, well, coach, I want to go Division I. I want to go here. It's the same conversation. Hey, I always tell them, well, it doesn't matter what level you go where you're recruited, where they want you, because you're going to give you a chance to get better and play. Yeah. And, you can play, you can be on a college team for 4 years and never play. It's probably, I don't know. I didn't play in college, but I'm pretty sure it's probably not that rewarding an experience. But getting out on the floor is fun. And, sometimes you got to go where you can play. And I don't know. I just think sometimes kids today, they want to join the best level of kids that they can and not really thinking it through on what kind of an impact it has on their game. And does it help them get better and improve and get what they want? They just want to be around all the hype.
Well, Doug, so I heard, I've heard some, I don't know if it's as much as the kids as I hear some 7th grade parents and 8th grade parents, and they're just talking about so-and-so has to go to the school to go to play in college. And actually one of the parents at one point was talking about my school, didn't really realize I was there, kind of listening. And they were saying, they got to go to this school because otherwise they wouldn't be go to college. And I was, I just came back yesterday from the Virginia State Classic, festival, watching, 2 of my players play against each other. And I don't think these parents even do their research, enough to know, everybody on this, everybody out here on this call has sent kids to school from our public schools where they went to school for free. They didn't have to pay a cent to come to our school. They got to play with their friends. They got to likely play in a deep playoff run where it was a packed house and maybe got a court storming of some sort in their careers. And then got to go off to college and do that. But I think that the parents are saying, you can only do that if you go to this private school. Now, I'm sort of like Doug said, there's certain benefits, of course, if you're talking about, top-notch guys and traveling around the country and et cetera. And, and they have unlimited amount of games compared to what we have. But, we're really looking at a lot of those kids that would be a star with us or a 9th, 10th guy, like Doug is saying, with somebody else. And Sherman, you asked where did it change and when did it happen and what did I'm concerned. I'm worried about when are the parents going to get on board to all of the media, the outlets and opportunities they have to see every school and everybody and what they've done the last 4, 5, 6 years, who they've put out, where those guys are, and the parents should be, really paying attention to that when they're making a decision changing their kids from public school with their friends to, some private school where they're, hoping to end up at the same place they would have been if they went to public school.
I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'm just being devil's advocate, but there's some places that are not putting that information out there to be easily accessible so people can see it and know that. And, it's not like back in the day where people just knew. I remember when I was going to high school, I just knew how great Coach Hayes was, and I couldn't wait to play for Coach Hayes. and
Hey,
so
Sherman, I disagree, man. There's not one kid that we have that doesn't have an Instagram account or a Twitter account of some sort, and
I'm
they've been
not
promoting
saying that none of
themselves.
them don't have
But
it.
I'm saying they've been
But my
promoting
point
themselves.
is that the adults, the coaches, not the kids, don't necessarily put that information out there to let people know, like, hey, we got these kids in school here. This is what happened with this, and so I think it's a little bit of give and take in it. Are they doing their research? No, I don't think so. But at the same time, there's all the people putting the information out there for it to be accessible for them to know, because they know immediately that PVI or Bishop O'Connell, they don't have to do any research on that because they see it all the time.
Can I add
That's-
something? Can I add something on the so I have this discussion with some of my coaching friends is all the time as you see these programs who promote every time a college comes into their gym for an open gym to watch kid play. Oh, I want to thank, so-and-so for this university coming through. And I think to myself, and you see it, public schools, private schools, it's a lot of places to do this. And I think to myself, those same coaches are coming through my gyms on the same days. I'm just not out there promoting it all the time because frankly, I don't think it's anybody else's business what college coaches are coming through my gym and talking to my kids. If my kids want to promote that because they're talking to colleges, that's their business to promote. I don't think that's my job. And if that costs me a kid, I just think that that's just not appropriate. It shouldn't always be about self-promotion. Look, every coach on this program, everybody coach on this call has sent guys to play in college, and they all run quality. If you're a 6A coach in Northern Virginia, at most schools, if the kid's good enough, they're going to get seen because this is a good area for basketball. There's coaches through our gyms all the time, but we shouldn't have to promote that. Now, the private schools promote it because they have to recruit kids to have a team. That's the great thing about being in a public school. I'm going to have 40 kids at tryouts every year. If we're good, bad, or indifferent, I'm always going to have 40 kids. I don't have to go out and recruit my team. And frankly, I don't want to go out and recruit my team because I just feel like, hey, I enjoy coaching neighborhood kids that have differing skill sets and putting them all together. Some years you have a point guard, some years you don't. That's part of the fun for me. So I don't stress about that stuff as much. But it's amazing to me at this day and age but I think everybody wants to be around the hype. They want to be around the hype of PVI and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's their choice, but people love being around the hype machine nowadays. Kids want to hype out highlight tapes.
It's the world we live in. It's like I said, I hear what you're saying. And when we talk about kids having, like when kids put on their social media that blessed to get this offer, like, is it annoying? Yeah. But here's the problem. You got these college coaches won't offer a damn kid until they see somebody else offered. So what's he supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to say that these coaches were in my gym, but if I don't say it, then like, well, who's coming to recruit those kids? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you don't have to, you're not recruiting at the public school level. You know what I'm saying? Well, not the people that are doing it the right way. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's that one or two kids that are good enough to go play at that next level that are deciding whether or not it will be in their best interest to play at your school. Why is it wrong for them to know that these type of things are happening at your school as well? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like a look at me, we're so great, these guys are in our gym. It ain't about me. It's about like, hey, listen, you other college coaches that are so influenced by everything else that everybody else is doing. These people came here today to recruit our kids. You should be coming here too, more so than it is for the kids. Because how many times have you seen a kid get one offer and all of a sudden he's got 5?
Coach,
Did he all of a sudden not get good over the week that he got 5 offers? Or everybody else had to wait for somebody else to pull the trigger? Why all of a sudden when I say, I tweet out that this coach is in our gym, I get 2 text messages from other coaches saying, hey, coach, let me get such and such's number. Like, why do I got to do that? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Coach, do you feel
everything Sherman's saying is true. And I mean, I feel what Doug is saying. And
Absolutely.
I also understand what Sherman's saying because it goes both ways. It's a double-edged sword when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah.
You gotta play the game, especially when you have those type of guys.
But do you feel like Coach Sherman, like, I know you lost a couple players to Highland. I saw them play this year. Good guards. I know you Chase went to Battlefield the year before. Do you feel like you have to use social media? You have to help to create this buzz to retain kids? Is that part of your recruiting in your own building? The
I
fact
think
that
it's
you
I think it's just the nature of the beast. You know, if you're gonna be that coach that's gonna be anti-social media and anti all this other type of stuff, you're probably not gonna be successful year in and year out. You'll have good years, like you said, when you get some good guys, but it's just it's the nature of what it is. And so, you know, I have a guy who that is his job to do our social media. He literally does all the Twitter and Instagram stuff. So
He's good.
anytime you see Patriot hoop stuff, that is what he is doing. That is what his job is to do. You know, so it's like we can fight those sorts of, like, there's some things that, like, you know, you got to keep the integrity of stuff, but there's some stuff I'm not going to fight it. Do I like when kids roll their shorts up? I can't stand it. They like it. You know what I'm saying? I bet you they didn't like it when we started having longer shorts on and wearing longer socks. Coach Hayes couldn't, you remember slouch socks for everybody from this area? Coach Hayes hated them. He hated those socks, but he knew we all loved them. And we all were getting busy, so we wore those socks. So it's hard because it's a juggling act to try to figure out, all right, what things can we do and what can we not do? And if we're all going to be like stubborn about like not doing these things, while all these other schools that obviously have to do it because they're trying to get the top kids in their recruiting classes, you know, it's not us recruiting. It's like, hey, you don't need that because it happens here as well.
I mean, can I jump in and just touch on everything just gently? So let's talk about the social media and the promotion of kids. There are people maybe on this panel who called me Hollywood my first year because Joe Dagby had a guy who wanted to make movies, and we just said, hey, open the doors. So every time you play South Lakes, win or lose, there was a little movie, there is a little movie, and I do some stupid interview where I talk about the same thing every time and people get mad at me because it's a script. Okay. It's the world we live in. And I find it hilarious that some of the same people that called me Hollywood 4 years ago have 107 people following them around. And I'm not talking about you, Carlos. I'm just making a general blanket statement. All right.
Yeah.
So we get kids. Right now, I'm fortunate to have a kid who's a pretty good ball player, and some schools have come to look at him. Now, I don't say, hey, this is a great opportunity. Let's take some photos. Most likely, I try to keep my ugly bald ass out of those photos. And I ask the kid and the coach, hey, man, are you cool if we put this out there? Because as you know, we all have kids in 6th, 7th, 8th grade that are being spoken to by privates. Some good privates, some privates that I've never heard of that somebody started in their gym last week. But regardless, they're getting sold some bullshit about reclassing 87 times and being a 14-year-old third grader because I'll get you to D1 school because we have coaches. So we have coaches too that come, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, who cares? If the kid, the parent, and the coach is cool with us promoting that, then I'm saying, okay, let's take a little photo. Let's at the school, at the kid, right? Going back to the thing that I've said a bazillion times about private versus public. If you're good, you're good. And you'll get seen if you're good, you're good. And no one's worrying about what high school you play for unless it's like Los or Sherman with their basically college level basketball teams right now where the 15th man is a starter at fucking Duke. Like, if you're good, you're good. And if you play for the right AAU program, none of this matters. None of
There
this
you
matters.
go. That's it.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I get criticized for. There's a lot of mistakes I make, but I'm not going to apologize for if it's a social media thing that some kid's trying to become a film dude or a social media dude and we have a platform they can use, knock yourself out. If I have to say, hey, you know, coach such and such was in the gym today, so that 7th or 8th grader that may come to South Lakes looks a little bit harder because they've been told that only those coaches go to private schools, I'm going to do it and I'm not going to apologize for it. So please edit the F-bomb out so Duggan and Retzer don't fire me.
Yeah, you make my job so tough, Mike.
He's tagging it as you speak.
He's like, ah!
47-minute mark.
Exactly.
Now, hey, look, real quick, I'm gonna say something. We'll get off the subject. I've been around a long time. In 2005, you know, we went undefeated 28-0 all the way to the state, semifinals, all that good stuff. We had a kid from W&L who was a senior in high school at the time, who played for me before I got to Wakefield, and came to me after we beat them in the district and said, Coach, can I do a documentary on your team? Because I know you guys are going to win the state championship. This is 2005. I'm like, a documentary? What are you talking about? I said, what do you need? He said, I just need access to the locker room and follow you guys around. Okay, whatever. One kid filmed this whole movie. When the season was over, he sold over 300 DVD copies of this thing. He went on to college. He dropped out of college his first semester because somebody got a hold of the DVD. He started working for Bono, YouTube. He started making videos, commercials. He's doing movies. This was an opportunity the kid took. This was in 05, y'all. Wasn't no Twitter. Wasn't none of that stuff around. And if you want a copy of the movie, I can give it to you. Remember the Warriors. Okay. Yeah. It's great. And one kid named Cutter did this whole movie on us and put us right there where you wanted to be. So you don't think that a 6th, 7th, 8th grader who saw that said, I want to come to Wakefield so I can be in a movie? You don't think Wakefield has 10 different uniforms because that 8th grader or that 7th grader is looking saying, I can't wait to get to Wakefield because they got a gray set, a blue set, a black set. They got a set that ain't even their colors, but I can't wait. This is what we live in. You have to adapt to it. I'm with you, Doug. I'm the same way. If you look at my Twitter page, my Instagram, it is very low key. I'm not that one that puts on there. He had 22 points. I did the other day because the kid had 25 and 20. We had to put that on there. That was different.
Was that Seth? Was that Seth?
Seth Langford. That was different. But when we just say, hey, we won, good game, next game. But if you don't do this, listen, man, it ain't necessarily the kids, but you're right. It's the parents. How come you're not putting what Hayfield's putting up on there? Well, first of all, I don't have what Hayfield has. That's number one. So, but they are always going to compare you, if not to the private, but now to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I'm fighting now. I got kids who were supposed to come to Wakefield, and then our boundaries in Arlington have shifted a really good player up to WNL. Right. So some things you can win and some things you can't. But at the same time, man, if we don't, even the old school guys, we don't adapt to what's going on, we're going to listen. Ain't a coach on here that can tell you that your high school coach that you played for can coach right now. Not because of X and O's, because we know your high school coach is pretty damn good. But you think your high school coach will be doing all this social media shit and all that other stuff that we have to do now? Hell no. Hell no. Right?
Well,
and I don't know all those guys, but come on.
I hear you with the social media. I'm kind of low key like you on social media. We update our game stuff. I've always gone the approach where that's why we go up and play summer league up at the Matha. That's why we go schedule a WCAC school, because I always felt like I don't need to hype you up and promote you. We're just going to put you out there on the stage versus these teams, and you're going to shine for yourself. That's the approach I go with. Maybe that makes me old school. I don't know, but that's why I got accused of having a globe-trotting schedule back when Eric Bowles was in school, because we were playing all over the place. Well,
I mean, Doug, that's what you're saying is true though. Like you said, there's got to be substance to it now. Now there's some people out there that are doing the hype machine and all the stuff we're talking about, but ain't no substance to it because they stink. You know what I'm saying? And so that on the other side annoys me. It's like, you need to relax. Like, just like you said, just tell us when you play, whether you won. And we know you're not going to tweet.
It's a thin line, though, Sherman, for some people. That's a thin line, because winning to some isn't the same as winning to everybody else. So somebody, they win. I seen that too. Like they got more Twitter posts than wins. Which is hard to, but then that same person is going to say, well, I ain't gonna get nobody to come over here unless I'm doing all these Twitter posts.
Well, listen, this is true. But there's some guys that have been able to sell a real good bill of goods and tell everybody, I got this many scholarship persons and this and that, and they get kids to come in there. Then you figure out, man, this guy's full of it. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, there's a balance to it. Like, we can't just ignore it, but it's got to be something to where you do it. And, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to go about it. I can tell you that for sure.
I think we all agree that the wrong way is for Mike Desmond to continue criticizing my haircut because I still have hair and he doesn't. That is the wrong way to do it. That's all hype right there, Desmond.
Well, just to give the guy a shout out, the movies Remember the Warriors. You can get it on VO online. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it's a great movie. I watched
Yeah.
I watched the whole movie. It was excellent.
And he did it at the end, and he couldn't even get into the South Lakes Wakefield game. It was like 600 people on the outside. That was going to be his first night, and he couldn't even get in the gym. It was that packed. So he started afterwards.
Oh, yeah, that was enjoyable.
Oh yeah,
it was a fun movie, and there's nothing to me like a state tournament run. There's nothing in life. I love it. I mean, I didn't experience one as a player, but I've seen it done, and I enjoy watching it. Let's move on to officiating. So I did a panel with the women's, the coaches that coach women's basketball, girls basketball, and they had some critiques. They weren't happy about the 10-minute huddle before with coaches before the game. There's rumors of two-man crew this week, a crucial week for some. But for you guys, what are the issues with regards to officiating? I saw the Battlefield guys did a really good job, I thought, in a game. I'm sorry, the Bull Run guys did a real good job at the Battlefield Patriot game, and I've watched lots of the Cardinals crews work. I'm a former Cardinal member myself, and they've done a good job this year as well. So what are you guys thinking about officials so far this season?
Heard a few people complain about the 10-minute thing. I mean, it lasts, I think, 25 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
It depends on who you got up there talking.
That's true. Adam Bricks lasted maybe 11 seconds. But
right.
Some guys are a little longer, but I didn't see it as that. It didn't kill me, honestly. That wasn't that. I didn't think that was that big of an issue. I definitely wanted to ask anybody. They made we were all at the referee thing that we had to go to before the season started, where they definitely drove this hate speech home. I think for the girls they drove, or not even just girls, but long hair and everything like that. They drove that stuff home, and then the dropping the N-bomb would be automatically ejected. They never really said what the suspension would be. Has anybody experienced any of those things? Have you seen anything in the stands? I haven't yet, and I wondered if anybody had.
We had someone.
Go ahead, Desmond.
We were playing the school down the street from us, and Brick had to throw some kid out from their student section. And I don't know, you'd have to ask Q, because I think he had to tell Q about it, but I don't know what the kid was saying, but I guess it was across that line. And it was somewhere early in the game and Brick calls a foul, and just Adam Sally, does his little foul, then calls the admin over, says, "This dude gone." And I guess they had mentioned something, and I didn't care to know, and I don't care to know. You'd have to ask Q, but that's the only thing I've seen as far as a fan being ejected for something.
And you don't know what he said?
No. And my kids didn't even hear him.
I want to say that not in regards to the hate speech stuff, because I haven't seen that, and thank goodness. I mean, we had the emphasis been, I guess, on kids like with foul language, and unfortunately for me, I'd experienced that in the first game of the season. Our point guard was cussing at our team to lock in his own team, and the referee gave him a tech, which was his 5th foul because of that. And I get it.
Where did that happen? Did he get? Where did that happen?
It was after a foul. They were huddled at the foul line.
Oh, your guys were huddled.
Hey, I'll admit it was terrible. It should never have happened.
And just it's I get it. And then his reasoning behind it, because I always ask after the fact, not in the heat of the moment. He had said stuff a couple times, but at no point in time did they say anything to me or give the kid a warning to be like, "Hey, you can't do that." And then when I asked him, he said, "I just thought we couldn't say the N-bomb." But it's in regards to officials, I get the narrative is, that they've been treated so badly and they don't have enough good guys because of that. But it's a lot of bad officiating going on right now, and we might get ourselves in trouble with this. But just like we can talk about, there's some bad coaches out there. There's some guys that are not good, and the guys that are in charge know that they aren't good, but they feel like they don't have any choice because of the lack of officials. So you're getting crews with guys that they already know are going to be below the standard because they're struggling to find guys. But the narrative that they're struggling to find guys because everybody's been treated so bad, I just think that some of them are overly sensitive about they're not very good at what they're doing. Man, I mean, I got one tech in 7 years. My first year I got a tech. I've gotten 2 in the last week. And I can tell you I am way milder than I have been this year. And one of them was for clapping. And so it's just like, yeah, I get it. You know, it's unfortunate the numbers are down. But if you're not going to be good at what you're doing, you shouldn't be sensitive to people saying something about you being bad at it.
Julian, I'm concerned about next week. I'm pretty sure everybody's probably been, or is it 2 weeks from now?
The 2-man crew?
Yeah, the 2-man crew. The
It's
2-man
this week.
crew. I'm concerned. Or is it, or this not? Yeah, it's Sunday. Yeah,
It's already happened to us down here.
I'm concerned because typically I think we've been seeing one kind of lead guy with or lady and 2, JV or freshman people where one person is kind of dominating. I definitely had a game that was a tough game, and the referee came and told me that it was too big of a game for one of the other people in the crew, and it was clear. And I wondered how would I have rather not heard him tell me that it was a missed call or heard or just I think I liked it better that he explained that he said it. I mean, he acknowledged what I already saw. But I'm concerned that this week it might be the 2-man crew might neither of them be a lead person. So I wonder if they, I don't know how they put that stuff together, but you have Adam and then 2 kind of rookies, right? But what if it's now just the 2 rookies and you got a Patriot battlefield type thing? So that I'm concerned. I am worried, no doubt about it.
I can tell you, we were, our crew, 2 of our guys were very good for that game. Thank goodness. If we only had 2, we would have been in trouble because they would have put 1 good one and 1 bad one. It's hard to cover up for when you got 2 guys.
Well, to be fair, Coach, I thought that the officials the officiating was good that night. I thought it was a very tough game to officiate because it was a huge crowd. It was an intense game, and they did a good job. I mean, there are games I've been to this year that the officiating wasn't great, but that was I thought you got your money's worth that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maryland refs are 10 times worse. So
absolutely.
So Carlos,
I love our refs compared to seeing how the Maryland refs are.
So Carlos's game and Jackson Reed game. So I went over there to that game, and these guys, first of all, they weren't in the best shape of all time, which is fine. I don't care. I think we worry too much about biceps and how the referees look. But one thing I love, the halftime. Usually the officials go into the locker room. They have their half. These guys just got chairs and put them down right in the middle of the floor at halftime, just chilled. It was something straight out of an AAU game or something.
And then those are the guys that are going to be the most mad when you tell them that they're struggling.
Oh God,
you're struggling tonight, but you want to go sit down.
The funny thing was, in Carlos's game, the calls went both ways. They did not, they didn't have anything against Hayfield, but there were some calls in that game that were so off the wall that Hayfield very easily could have won the game. And I remember there's one call in general. The guy, player fell down with the ball, and it just landed in Hayfield's hand, and they had a layup. And for some reason, the referee blew the whistle and stopped the play, and no one knew what was going on. And everyone and Carlos, you guys were on your best behavior. That it was almost like, yo, we're in PG County. We got to behave ourselves tonight. And I was just like, Carlos, you guys are being so good. In the stands, we couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah, it was terrible. It is what it is. But that's why, after seeing those type of refs and then having the refs that we have on our side, I try not to even complain as much anymore because it just is what it is. And and I feel like, when we do have our top-notch refs at games, it's good.
I would love if they decide to get one refereeing body for the entire state. That would be great because the difference in refereeing you get from 20 miles is insane.
Yeah.
It's going to be a completely differently ref game up near y'all to us, to Stafford, to Richmond, to the beach. Completely different at every level.
Hey, does Alexandria still use bull run refs for the
I have no idea.
Nah, they're back in they're with us now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in Charlottesville,
we won on the road too.
Yeah. When I was in Charlottesville, it was unfortunate because the districts there, you had teams from all over, and every team had their own officiating association with for their area. So you always felt like you were getting home cooking when you went on the road.
Absolutely.
So it's better when you have one association covering one entire district. I mean, out of district's one thing, but in district, it's better. The perception's better if it's one association, I think, even if that's not the way it is. Anyway, obviously we know Cardinal does a good job. I think Bull Run does a really good job as well. So both associations.
We're not talking about the top guys.
Yeah.
That's what we keep getting confused in this. We are not talking about the top 5 to 10 guys. We're not talking about them.
Yeah.
Look, I came back from Jersey and I learned some new rules, and I'm not going to get into it on this call because obviously I have to be very colorful and be funny when I tell stories, but I learned some new stuff in Jersey and I was happy to come home. I was extremely happy to see the worst of the worst referees. We had some dude Tuesday, the dude who does the clock. Dude fell asleep, put wrong points on, and I was happy because of the crap I saw in Jersey. Yeah, he was 109 years old. But I was happy to be back home with good refs, bad refs compared to the junk I saw in Jersey. So, Cardinal, I love you, and please stop calling every 10 fouls to 1 against me. Thank you.
Well, we've traveled to Charlottesville. When we're there, we're in Charlottesville for 3 days. So we certainly see, I'm seeing the same. We've been going 5 years now. So I see a lot of the same refs, but I'm probably getting like 8 to 12 different guys and ladies that I'm seeing down there. Yeah. And we know that certainly 1 or 2 or 3 of them are going to be in the state tournament. So it's like different than going, to a different state. Like these are the people that we're absolutely going to see alongside a Cardinal official, alongside a Brill Run official in the state tournament game. And yeah, the home cooking thing is they don't want out of towners coming in Charlottesville winning any games. And they don't mind letting you know it. But I think it's good for the kids to figure out too, like they don't have control of you missing that foul shot, and they don't have control of you missing that layup or that cross court pass you just threw that is obviously going to get stolen. So, going to Maryland, yeah, you get it. You know where you are, you act accordingly, and then you control what you can control. So I think, and you're right, it makes us, I think the top guys in our referee association are just fine. I have, when I look in and I see you guys, them coming in with the, the airport bag and stuff, and they're the top dudes, like I have no problems knowing that at least it's going to be a good game. It's going to be refs the same way, likely the whole game. But it's when you see the freshman ref, we're sitting there, and then you realize that guy went away for the JV game, and then he's back for the varsity game, and
you just saw him ref a middle school game at your kids' game 2 days ago.
Well, I'm gonna get you guys out of trouble here. We'll stop talking about officials. I definitely think we are lucky to have a professional organization like Cardinal and also a Bull Run coach. Well, let's talk about the teams and players to watch. We're almost, I'd say, 2/3 of the way through the season. The season has flown by. I can't believe we're this deep into the season, and I think things are beginning to take form. I definitely think obviously Hayfield and Occoquan is going to be tough, but there's a real battle for that second spot in the state semifinal there, I guess it would be, or the state quarterfinal there, state semifinal there. So there's a lot of competition in the Occoquan. The northern region is wide open. I know Marshall's had a good run. Washington Liberty has struggled some, but we know they're tough. Wakefield's on the rise. McLean has surprised some people. And in the other district, I think Madison has been tough early in the season, but they've struggled some lately. Out in 6B, I know that obviously Patriot and Battlefield on the top of that district, but also Gainesville's played well. And on the other side, I would have said Potomac is a team to watch, but last night it's hard to get out of my mind. It was a very comprehensive beatdown. But Forest Park, it's got a Division I player that people are talking about. So anyway, that's my 2-minute analysis. What do you guys see so far in terms of teams and also players?
Before we start, I just want to say, Sherman, you're being recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, we good. Okay, back to you, Julian.
I said, I lost it for a second, but I had to tighten back up. But I realized that it's already out there. So
I could always edit this, guys.
Don't edit it. I don't want you
that's
to
good.
edit
It's
Yeah.
inside joke. It's inside joke.
it.
Oh man.
So how is my analysis there? I mean, and also West Potomac's on the rise. Alexandria City's had their run, but Occoquan is wide open right now, the way I see it. And the Northern Region's been wide open all year. I mean, Mike Desmond's being quiet over there, but everyone knows he's got one of the top sophomores in the country. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I'll talk about my district. You know, I'm not, and no offense to, you know, Dave, Lowe's, Doug, or Sherm. I don't care because I wouldn't see any of them until like a state tournament game at this point. So I'm really focused on the Concord, and I have a watchful gaze on the Liberty all the time because those are the teams that I have to play and beat. You know, I think we just started the Concord play this week. We kind of started later than everyone else, I think. And I think our district, personally, I think it's very interesting because, well, Madison has been everyone's pick, and they're playing pretty good basketball. There's still a bunch of new pieces that Roller's trying to put together. I think they're talented. I think they're really, really good. But I know they just had an injury that could affect them in the short term right now. You know, Oakton, Dave's going to do what Dave does. He's going to be stingy. He's going to play some zone. He's going to run a bunch of sets. So I think they're a team. And I think when you look at our district, don't be fooled by people's records. You know, I think the people with sub 500 records have been in a bunch of games or getting better. You know, I think Westfield's better than the record says, and I know they're competitive. I know they play hard. You know, we just played Chantilly. Rodney's doing a good job getting his culture installed, and those kids are learning how to play, and they're very young. And then, you know, Heitner in Centerville, he plays freshmen and sophomores. So you never know what you're going to get with them. One night, like I think Friday, they had like honestly 12 threes, and they almost upset Madison. So as far as my district goes, I think there's parity. I think people would be fooled if they looked at records and assumed this team's going to win just because they have a few more wins on their record than the other. And, you know, district play is monotonous. We all know each other. And, you know, you can make a couple changes, little wrinkles here and there, but the kids know each other. The coaches are pretty much, you know, in tune with which each person's going to do and what kind of changes. And, you know, I think the Concord's going to be tricky. I think the second half run of the Concord, you could flip a coin some nights. And then, you know, again, I'm watching the Liberty, as you know I am. You know, and I think Jerry's done a great job, and Marshall record-wise is the cream of the crop in our region, possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, so Marshall's doing things. You never count W&L out. You know, Tony, you can shake your head, but any given night, if Seth's going to give you 25 and 20, you're going to beat a lot of people. And then Obi and McLean, right? Obi and McLean, they lost their best player in the preseason, and they're surprising some people. And, you know, Q's got a couple wins here, and they're a funny team to watch. And Joe Reed, I don't know what their record was, but I know they were really, like 9 and something going into district play. So, you know, and then Dave at Langley, I can't figure Langley out when I watch him play, but, you know, I think our region right now, I guess you would say Marshall, Madison, maybe.
And South Lakes coach. Coach Bentley, that Yorktown showdown all of a sudden has become a big game tomorrow, on Tuesday night. Yorktown started off the season great, and then last week was a tough week for them. And now you guys are kind of on the upswing. That's a big game on Tuesday.
It's like any rival game, and I don't consider Yorktown our rival, but we're all in the county, 3 high schools and all in the county. You throw the records out, just like when we played W&L the other day, throw the records out and let the chips fall where they may. I'm glad Mike summed up our whole conference. I don't have to talk about it, so nobody has to be mad at me. I appreciate it. But on any given day in our district, you know, I think anybody can beat anybody. You know, Marshall is the top right now, but I think they could go down to anybody. You know, it's going to be one day. And that probably could be for every district, but I really feel that way in our conference that right now you'll see some teams with better records, but watch how it changes the second half through, because now teams are going to think, oh, we beat them already, or they're not that good, or they're struggling, and they'll sleep on somebody. So I think our conference is good. The region, like Mike talked about, is the same way. So it all comes down one game at a time for us to see what happens, and we just start to go from there.
Yeah, and Coach, I saw the Marshall game, as I said earlier. They have surprised me because they had some big losses last year in terms of personnel that graduated. And Coach Lim, Jerry's done a great. I coached Jerry back in my coaching days. He's done a great job with that team. They play incredible defense. They beat Yorktown without Matthew Leonard, but Leonard is a great all-around player. He's an ultimate team player. He moves the ball. When he's open, he sticks the shot. Great defender. But that Marshall team is kind of sneaky good.
Yeah, they're good, and like I said, they run their stuff. They're disciplined. They don't get out of character. And Leonard, he is the key to those guys, and he does it all. I was telling my kids he's a Division II soccer player or whatever, Division I, whatever it is. Division I soccer player, and basketball is just something he loves. You know what I mean? So that kid's really good, and a lot of respect for him. But they do a good job over there. They got some key pieces to keeping them going. So Jerry does a good job. So they're definitely right now the favorites to beat. You know how it is when you got that bullseye on your back. You got to be able to keep that up all the way through. So we'll see what happens.
Exactly. Thanks, Coach. Coach Poindexter, now you had a tough game against Edison on Friday, much tougher than against Potomac, who beat Edison easily early in the season. Were you surprised how well Edison played against you?
I won't say I was surprised, because I got to watch them play. I saw them play versus Potomac, and I thought that was a very good game. And even though they ended up losing that game, they were up 17 at the time, and that just told me, and that was without Nader. Nader wasn't even there, so that I was kind of concerned, and I was telling my team all week, hey, watch out for Edison. But until they see it, they wasn't thinking like that, because we beat them by 30 all 3 games last year, so they just thinking Edison is Edison. And I'm like, yo, this is a different Edison team. They're seniors now. They playing hard. They playing a little bit harder. They doing some different things. We gotta be worried. And then sure enough, we was in a dogfight. So Edison, they're a senior heavy driven team, and they got some two young dudes that can hoop. So it makes for a good team. And they, in my opinion, I've gotten a chance to see on our region. I feel like they're one of the top 3 teams in our region, just based off what I saw from both sides of Patriot District and our district. They top 3 or 4.
Yeah, as Coach Helson says, Edison always comes up with a lot of tall players. They definitely has some size.
Big. And not only they got bulk with them.
Yeah. So, Coach Craig or Coach Helson, what about your district? Is very tough. I mean, Robinson has struggled, my alma mater, but Lake Braddock has played well of late. Every game is a tough game. And that's the Patriot, or is that the National? That's
Patriot.
Patriot.
Yeah, the Patriot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the records, when you look at the district, it says it, everybody's pretty close. And really everyone is in a fight for where we have 6 games to go, I think, 7 games to go in the conference. So, and everybody plays each other again one more time. So I think, yeah, I mean, we've played everybody. We play Doug on Tuesday, so we played everybody except for them. Had a good chance to see all the teams. Our district is always, a challenge because every team, and I know Doug said that we're down as far as maybe the top teams, but I don't know if we're down with regards to the competition between our district, and the teams within the district are going to really compete and kind of make each other better. So, I think it's going to come down to the last week of the season of the conference for the top spot in the conference, which I'm sure everybody's just trying to get that home game and maneuver themselves in the playoffs. But we've got some, really good young players in the league, and then some veterans and, some guys, Margot was player of the year last year, and he's, I think he's repeating as, playing at a high level right now. South County is, I think, leading, and, Alexandria City is jumping up, and, Fairfax is. So, I mean, it's a lot of really, a lot of really good teams. I think it's going to be a challenge to make it through and then position ourselves in the playoff bracket.
Margot may be my favorite player to watch. I love watching him play basketball. Just this intensity level. His game is very unique. I've never seen a kid shoot the way he shoots, a little step back jump shot, and the way he snakes in and explodes into the lane. He's fun to watch. How about you, Coach Craig? Do you agree with Coach Houston and in that it's the competition level is very high?
For the record, I like watching Margot play too, but I will be more happy when he graduates.
Exactly. Well, you got his little brother coming up. So
yeah. Hopefully, there's no more in that family. After Belgate, I think is his first name. I mean, when I said it was down, I mean in terms of, I don't know if there's, for a long time. I mean, we had a stretch there in the Patriot, like a 5, 6, 7 years, or we had a team, in the state semifinals and beyond every year. I mean, I think the district had three different schools in the state final in like a 4-year span. Like, I don't know if we have a team at that level right now. I agree. I mean, I think the competition's good. I think, obviously you got some real experienced coaches in the Patriot that make it hard on each other, and a lot of different styles in our league. I think, there's a lot of teams play different ways. I think the high end talent is in the younger classes. I think there's some good seniors, but I'm not sure the seniors outside of maybe Margot and Paul Anderson at South County, we have a guy that's like a surefire first team all region senior. And I think that sometimes, I think you win with seniors a lot in high school basketball. And I think when your seniors are stronger, you tend to have better teams. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of close games. It seems like the results have been a little bit less predictable. In that I think there's more parity across the league, maybe, than there has been in the last couple of years, where I think there was a bit of a separation between the top 2 or 3 teams and the bottom 1 or 2 teams. I think we've kind of met at the middle a little bit in the league. But there will be tough games. There will be dogfights, and I think I think on any given night, nothing results wise has seen me. I mean, Lake Braddock went over to Fairfax and beat them. And Fairfax, I think, is in first place. I think they're 6-1, first turn through the district, or 5-1. And then I think South County and AC are both 5-2 because they've played each other twice already. Like Lake Braddock, who's I think tied with us in 6th place, went over and beat Fairfax at Fairfax, and then came over to our place next week, and we won by 30. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that just on paper. So I think sometimes styles make fights, as they say, and I think certain teams match up maybe a little bit better with other teams, and it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I agree with Coach Houston. I think the teams will get better through the district play because they'll figure some things out, and I think they'll beat up on each other a little bit, and then it generally kind of improves the level of play, I think, of everybody. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the second turn to the district does. And looking forward to seeing West Potomac on Tuesday. That's the one team we have not seen yet. So, we'll get a look at them on Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, it could be like last year, a fifth seed won the district tournament. Coach Houston's West Potomac teams. Who knows? It's wide open.
Yeah, I think the last year we had those top 5 teams, top 6 teams. Really, I think we're all like really high level teams. And I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure we have a state tournament level kind of team in our league this year, but I think there's good teams in our league. I'm just not sure we have that high end team right now. That maybe it'll emerge. Sometimes that can emerge through the second half through the district.
You never can tell with these things like right now until you get to the district tournament. For real.
Yeah. Yep. That's why they play the games, right?
I didn't realize this. We have in our conference, I feel like everybody's a new coach. Except for Mark, maybe. I think everybody in my conference is a new coach with some type of new system.
You on your Bill Belichick, dog?
I think Wally's been at Justice for a minute, but
Nick Saban, they couldn't keep the jobs in the SEC and the AFC East because they couldn't get at the big dog.
Yes.
Stop it.
We gotta try something else.
Yeah. Well, Coach Sherman, let's go to 6B for a while. Now we talked. You guys beat Battlefield and established a little bit of order in that conference for at least for a while. You guys play again in, I think, 2.5 weeks. But I know Walt Webb's at Champ. They got a decent squad. Coach Bills tells me that Liberty South Riding is good. I know on the other side, Freedom South Riding is good. On the other side, I know Mike Harris is down at Freedom Woodbridge. So what's 6B looking like this far?
I mean, you mentioned, obviously us and the purple guys are up there as far as the region goes. I would love if somebody would beat them so we don't have to play them so many times like we did last year. But, they're a good basketball team. So I'm sure they're gonna, give some people some fits. You mentioned Mac over at Forest Park. Mac, good dude, good coach. Like I keep saying, he's probably got the best big kid in Northern Virginia, and he's only a sophomore. So it's one of those things that he's going to be there. He also got a big win against Potomac, so that is a good thing for their kids and their program. Potomac, I know, had a couple of losses the last couple of days, but you got to believe that they're going to be there when it's all said and done. Just in our district alone, in years past, our district's probably been a little bit stronger than it is this year. We've had years we've had 3 teams from our district ranked in the top 10 in the state, but we still got guys that can do some stuff. Talk about Freedom South Riding. They've probably played 5 or 6 games that were within 3 to 5 points. They almost got the purple team the other day. I know that they run a system offensively that is hard to guard. It is a continuity thing where it's curls and back cuts, and if you don't get on them and disrupt that a little bit, they're going to make it difficult for you because their kids run that well. Rocky, they're still plugging along, trying. I know they lose a couple here, win a couple here, but whenever you have a player that's able to go off for 40, that's somebody that you got to be concerned about with Tay Barber over there.
That's Osborne.
Yeah. Past, I want to say us, purple guys, Osborne, and then, the Gainesville up the road. You got to look at us as being kind of like the top 4 now going through the first leg. But at the same time, like I said, Freedom South Riding got Gainesville in the game, beat them. So that was a big win for them. Osborne and OP played the other day, and it was only a 3-point game. So it's one of those things that night and night, you just got to bring your A game and hopefully that you can, get it done. We've done a good job of putting ourselves in the driver's seat. So now we control our own destiny. If we can just win the rest of our district games, we'll finish first and get the number 1 seed during the regional tournament.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Well, let's talk about players that have emerged. One player that comes to mind right away is Isaiah Vick from Patriot. 6'6". I would have called him a 4.5 before the game on Friday. Now I'll call him a 4.3. Came out, hit some big threes, got Patriot's legs underneath them, and kept them in the game until they're able to impose their will a little bit on Battlefield. But he's definitely going to be a big time player. But what about you guys? What are you guys seeing around 6B, C, and D?
Anthony Saunders from Edison, sophomore, about 6'2". Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
I don't know why he doesn't start, but he's good. Very good.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time you play him, he'll start. Yeah.
I think in our district, I think the coaches in our district, I think would have known about him last year. He was a first team all district player as a sophomore last year, but Kai Robinson at Alexandria City is a real good player.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 20, 23 points a game. Big, strong physical guard that can get downhill. He shoots like 84% from the free throw line. He's a good left-handed, but can finish with both hands. He's a really good player. And then his brother's over there now with him, Cullen, playing really well for them also. They got a nice 1-2 punch there in the backcourt. South County has a guard, Caleb Afwalk, number 5. Who did not play a lot last year, but who's really playing good, solid ball for him. I think he got the MVP of the George Long thing, right, Tony?
He did. He was hurt last year. That's why he didn't.
Okay, yeah, he's a nice player. He does a lot of things well. He's not like a guy that's going to go out and get 30, but he does a lot of things well. He's a good player.
Yep.
Hey, the TC kid, his brother, are they underclassmen? Both those kids?
Cullen is a senior, And then the one who's averaging 23 points a game is a junior.
Oh, wow. Great.
Yeah, and then Margot is Margot. I think everybody knows about him. I don't feel we don't have to pump him up anymore. He already good enough. Everybody knows about him.
He's already emerged. We know. Yeah, we know him.
Yeah, you talking about players, man. You got to talk about those two guards at Freedom and Woodbridge. The numbers they're putting up. Tavares Riley and Shamar Cisco. They got another kid named Elijah Reed that had 22 with them. So between those three, they had like 60 some odd points in their last game. Tay Barber gets a lot of the pub over at Osborne, but the kid Tavion Faison, I want to say, is his name, guard that came over from OP. He's been playing well this season. I haven't seen him, but I keep hearing things about the kids over at Colgan. The Nate Ament, I want to say, is a young kid that they got, and then another kid named Skylar. I can't remember his last name, but they've been putting up some numbers. The shooter over at Gainesville, kid Grant Polk, he's one of those kids that if he is any open at all, he's gonna make the shot. And at 6'6", it's hard to contest that. You did. You know what I'm saying? You did. And then I saw it up close and personal on Friday night. Hassan Ahmad over at Battlefield, the growth he's had as a player and what he was able to do against us. I actually saw him today at one of those youth league games. He was there because his dad does stuff with the GBA. And I told him, I said, listen, man, I'll secretly, tell you that I really enjoyed what you did. I just don't want you to do it again. So,
Coach, he has a cousin. Does he have a cousin on your team? Is he a cousin of Abe? Are they first cousins?
No.
Okay.
Well, if they are, that's the first time I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Abe's mother told me they're cousins, but maybe they're second cousins.
Listen, no one ever told me. So
Yeah.
next time I need to look at Abe funny when Hassan go by him. Then that's what
Yeah.
And there's a kid at Falls Church named DJ. He's playing really well too, for them, averaging about 20 a game as well.
Yeah.
I believe he's a senior though. So I don't know if we were talking young kids or not, but
And Falls Church, they had a bad loss last week, but they've been a surprise. They've actually had a pretty solid season so far this year.
And also, I love my own guys. Isaiah is showing everybody what he is going to end up being at the next level. We always get in the habit as the way that things are now. People want to rush kids to be things before they're not ready for it. And Isaiah's growth, he's got great parents that follow a blueprint that is going to make him be the most successful person he is once he's out of high school.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about parents and how they can be a nuisance at times. His parents and his dad, who was a highly successful athlete, mom was a highly successful athlete. You would think they would be one of those that we talk about. They're the complete opposite. So, Isaiah's been doing very well. Jay Randall for us has been doing very well coming off the football field. Nasir Coleman, I can't, stop talking about the things he does for us. And then obviously Desmond Hopkins. It's been, it's a reason why all five of our guys are averaging double figures right now.
Well, and
He
Caden
spelled
Bates.
his name wrong.
He doesn't spell like Mike Desmond, so that bothers him.
Yeah, but Caden Bates, I think Caden Bates had a big game against
Right,
Hayfield.
right. Listen,
Big
Caden
game
Bates.
and big game against Battlefield. Did I get his name right?
Right, yeah. Say his name right. Los talked about him. I'm super proud of what he's putting out there on the floor right now. I mean, this kid is shooting 60% from 2, 45 from 3, and 77 from the free throw line. Is putting himself in, the radar of some college coaches that have reached out. Big time worker. I mean, he was in the gym before the game, before we got on the bus shooting, and it showed in that game on Friday night for sure.
I want to shout out a couple of my guys. So I got a kid, and it's a good story too. So I have a kid who during the pandemic, he was kind of lost, and his family was in a little struggles, and he didn't play as a 10th grader. And then last year he wanted to play varsity, but he wasn't going to be ready after missing a year. And so I had a conversation with him about, you're going to be a JV player as a junior. He was about 6'5" at the time. And I was like, this is an opportunity for you. I think this will help, and you might be better for your senior year if you do it. And most kids are going to be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing JV or whatever. And the kid did it. He followed, the process we asked. He grew a couple inches, and he's starting for us now and is averaging a double-double. He's almost 30 dunks this season already, and we've only played 13 games. he's all over the place. He's got 5 dunk games, 4 dunk games. He had 14 rebounds and 6 blocks against West Springfield a couple nights ago, and almost ended some kid's career at Alexandria City on the lob if they had thrown a little bit higher. I mean, it's just a part of the process of most kids don't stick with what coaches are asking them to do. And this kid absolutely did. And Savion Gowder is his name. He's doing a really, really solid job for us this year, 6'7" high flyer. And then I got a point guard who's a freshman who has been asked to be the lead a Patriot conference, team as a 9th grader, which is I've never had that in my time. Chris Morrison is doing a really solid job with us there. And then BJ Nkrumah, who, I'm not one of those people who puts all the numbers and stuff out there, but he had a week that he averaged 21 a game for the whole, for 3 games. And I think he was injured the first half of the season. So he didn't play against you, Mike, and Sherman. When we scrimmaged you guys, he didn't play against you, but he's been back and averaging almost 20 a game in this time back. So, we are starting to get some guys that have been following the process and following what we're doing and playing pretty well. So I definitely want to shout those dudes out.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Great job with the big guy, bringing him along slowly and, getting them in this position. Coach Carlos, one player for you that has emerged. And I mean, the big three is the big three. They're great. David King got his 1,000 point the other night. Greg Jones does his thing, but DJ Holloway is kind of emerging as well. I mean, he signed with Belmont Abbey, where my guy I played against, Dip Mitras, he played his college ball there. He's coach of Augusta now. But DJ Holloway I was sitting next to Red Jenkins yesterday, legendary Woodson coach. He said, that kid is the best player in the region. He pointed to DJ Holloway. I said, I love this kid right here. So talk a little bit about DJ's emergence.
So it was 2 players I want to talk about, but DJ for sure. I feel like DJ right now is playing like the best ball of his career. And he's, in my opinion, he's a clear cut, district player of the year. And, we'll see what happens with Mark Godwin for player of the year, but, or Paul Anderson, whoever wins that side. But, I feel like DJ is doing everything, like offensively and defensively, man. He gets after it defensively. His job is to guard the other person's best player every single night. And he's able to put up the points that he does, assist, rebound, giving you highlight plays every single time out. Man, that kid is, he's phenomenal, man. And he's finally able to do more. Cause before we had Braylon and Ashton. So his job is basically just to guard people before and just hit open shots. And now his game is able to flourish a little bit more, and then people's getting a chance to see him. I've always thought that DJ was a hell of a basketball player, and every time we match him up versus another top player, he's always going to come out on top, and it's been holding true thus far. So I'm loving that. And then I know which the other player is Donovan Bass. I knew he was good, right? I knew he was good. I didn't know truly how good he was until we got to have him in practice, and then him in games and the way that he competes. Us losing Braylon and then having him come in and do what he does for our team. He helps the engine continue to go, and I've been able to give him the ball, and he runs the team for us. And he does a great job with doing what he does his way. And that kid, man, he's the reason why we're good. Why we're still able to keep that level going. So, I do like that.
Yeah. And I'm sure Coach Sherman would regret that opening game last second shot by Donovan Bass Briscoe that put Hayfield over Patriot. Coach Bentley or Coach Desmond, did you guys chime in here for some of your players that you've been looking at and impressed with this year?
This is what we just talked about earlier on the show. I feel like now I got to talk about some of my guys, because if not, they're going to watch this and say, why didn't you say something about me? So for Wakefield, been very happy with the progress of Seth Langford, who is a high motor young man who, is relentless on the boards. Like I said, he had a 25 and 20 night. But not only that, he had some real big blocks down the stretch against WNL, against the big boy, Elijah Hughes, that kind of sealed the game or whatever it may be. But he's just a high motor young man, does it on both ends of the floor for us. and he's our only senior that we have that has a little bit of experience back with us. Kobe Davis has really shown everybody what he can do. He can score the ball with the best of them. We're trying to tell him that he's a scorer versus a shooter. He thinks he's a shooter, but he's a scorer. He's probably averaging 19 and 10. And what I love about Kobe is a 6'2", 6'3" guard, but he rebounds with the best of them. And when he in a transitional type of game, he can pass with the best of them. He just doesn't like to pass, but he can pass with the best of them. He has an all-around game, and once he starts to really figure this out, he's going to be one of the top guys in the area because he's really good at finishing, getting to the foul line. You got to get him to pass it a little bit more or whatever it may be, but he's trusting his teammates a little bit more, and that's why we're starting to have a little bit of success what we're having. And then I have Coach Willis's son, who is our point guard, who's sneaky good. He's small, but what he does for us on the defensive end, he had 7 steals the other night in the game, and he does that consistently. He does something his dad never did, and that's play defense. So he's really a good spark for us. Having him being our leader, put the ball in his hands for us, and he's running the show for us. So far, those guys have been improving and doing the things that they need to do for us.
So Tony Stanley, give a big shout out to Bobby, you, but also to Buck. I didn't realize Buck was such a good player. He said Buck could do it when he was playing. I didn't realize that.
Buck was definitely a good player, and then don't look at him now. He looks like he's in the post right now. Buck was one of the best 2 guards to ever play, and I know because I had to pass him the ball all the damn time. So
he had to do it. But
Hey Tony, I heard you were supposed to fire Buck or something like that. I heard a rumor. I saw it on a banner or a T-shirt somewhere that people were asking you to fire Buck. I don't know what that's all about.
Another inside joke, which I hope that Mike, that was great. Like I got so many calls about it, and people were confused, and I basically just said, if you guys
some people were mad.
Yeah, right. If you guys understand the friendships that we have and stop, let the rivalries fight. But as coaches, like you guys know, look at this panel. We have so many good things, man. And I wish other coaches would understand that we are a big fraternity, man. So when Mike did that, it's great. I'm waiting for South Lakes to play against Woodson so I can see all the barber shirts for Doug, you already know what's going to happen. So
listen. Those of us who can grow hair don't sweat those who can't. Hey, listen, because Sherman says I should shout out my kids, so make sure I shout out. Sean Donovan, our big kid's starting to come around. Averaging about 12 and 7. He had a game like Davey's kid. He had 5 dunks in a game earlier this year. He's starting to figure it out. And then I gotta shout him out because I didn't talk about him because I wanted to see it, but we have a sophomore point guard, Theo Burke. He had 15 points in the fourth quarter yesterday against Woodbridge. He didn't score in the first 3 quarters. He had 15 in the fourth quarter to close down the game. He's playing about 30 minutes a game. He can really play. You would look at him, you wouldn't think he can play, but Alexandria City on Thursday night was trying to press up on him late in the game, trying to pressure him when they have big physical guards. And he put it between his legs twice and went right around a kid, hit a pull-up little floater in the middle of the lane. And I thought, hey, that's a really, he's a tough kid. He's probably 5'9", 130 pounds, but he can really play, and he's going to be a really good player for us.
it's great when you're like 13, 14 games in a season, and you see the growth of these kids. Like, you know what to expect before the season, and then these kids, they grow, and it's fun to watch them grow. Tony, Coach Bentley, the kid Seth, he has that throwback game. He reminds me of a guy you see at the park playing pickup, and one of these like undersized post players that finds a way to get it done. But hey, Coach Desmond, did you want to get in here? Are you going to keep your talent under wraps over there?
So I'm going to try to live in between where I'm not bragging, and then I don't want to sandbag, because then Doug Craig will say that I'm a sandbagger, and then Los will send me some emoji that I don't understand. So I think, I'm going to talk about a couple kids, and I think my backcourt, Kennedy and Vita, those two kids are, or the hype train, exactly. Those two kids are coming along. Some nights there can be really frustrating because, we keep telling them both just bunt. Okay. Everything doesn't have to be a home run. And when Kennedy and Vita are playing within themselves and with high energy, those two kind of can be kind of the key to the night. You know, if they're playing well and defending and playing smart on the other end, you know, we're pretty tough to beat. Tyler Andre, a kid who comes off the bench, has really give us stability and something to go to off the bench where he plays defense, he takes charges, he can knock down the jump shot. And then I got those other two, right? Aiden Billings does a little bit of everything. I think he surprises people the way he moves based on his size. He might have the best vision on the team, and his jump shot is really improved. And you know, he's our big guy. He's our matchup problem. And Jordan Scott just keeps taking steps every day. In every game, he does something new. His footwork, you know, I think Jordan Scott has fantastic footwork, and that kind of separates him sometimes in the games that we play where he's having a decent game where 2, 3, 4 minutes later, because of his footwork and the things he's able to accomplish, getting into the right spots, you look up and he has a quiet 20 all of a sudden. So it's nice to see these young kids improving. It's nice that I don't think we're even close to our ceiling yet. So hopefully as the district first go wraps up the next week and a half and the second round of the district begins, hopefully we found some more consistency in the things that we're lacking.
Yeah. Well, great, Coach. Well, let's this has been great as always, guys. I appreciate all your time. Let's wrap up. You guys have any dark horse teams that could emerge in the postseason? And you know, anyone want to go out on the limb and obviously we're not going to pick against our own team, but are there some sneaky good teams to watch from here on in?
Edison.
Yeah.
I just had to say that because that's my boy Trey, first year coach. I went to the game the other day to watch him coach, and like he's doing leaps and bounds, and he keeps saying, "I learned from you." No, Trey. Trey's done this thing, man. I'm so proud of him. Are they there for Hayfield yet? Maybe not. But the things that he's gonna do when he gets out of playing those guys at the same time, play somebody else, you better be careful when Edison comes through because Trey's got them guys, they're playing for him. And I'm telling you got a team that's playing for the coach, it means a lot. When you got kids playing for themselves, it's a little bit different. When you're playing for the coach, and that's the one thing I watched them play yesterday, they're playing for Trey. He's got youth on his side as far as him. He speaks the lingo with those kids, and to watch that is amazing. And I'm just telling y'all, and he came into a great situation. I don't know what they're gonna look like next year, 3 years. I'm talking about right now. Watch Edison. Just watch Edison. Like I told Trey, if he looks good, I look good. So just watch Edison. All right.
Coach and Tree. Coach and Tree.
I told him everything he knows. This guy. Yeah.
My God.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna say, Freedom, man. I guess, like I only got to see him without the point guard when they played Potomac in that game. But when you got a backcourt that's as explosive as that in high school basketball, and you don't know what crew you're gonna get that night or how they're gonna call the game, it just really is they can cause a lot of problems for people the way they can score the basketball. I don't know how much defense they're gonna play, but they can put that thing in the hole. And if they catch you on a night where you can't make anything, they're gonna put a lot of pressure on you because they're gonna get to the basket, they're gonna make open shots, they're gonna just constant. So I mean, I think I saw a game, one of their games, they had 50 some odd between the two of them. One had like 30 something, the other one had like 20 something.
Hey, sure. I'm not to cut you off, but in fall league, what I was impressed with them guys was they were scoring like that, but they shared it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. It's not selfish.
Yeah.
Like it's not like when we're saying these numbers, like it's not like, all right, they just jack it.
Yeah.
Like they're playing within the right way, and they're still getting 30. And so that's the part that's crazy about it. And they like I said, they got another guy that's emerged and started scoring too. That's a lot of points, man. It's a lot of points. So if you don't know how to deal with that, if you don't defend very well, you're gonna find yourself in one of those type of situations where it's gonna be tough. So if I had to pick somebody from our region that would be that sort of like dark horse, I have to go with the backcourt like that.
Well, Coach Harris has a history of of being a tremendous offensive coach, especially.
On
but
top of
also-
that, like, and they got a really
Yeah.
good coach that has been there and done that. So
Yeah, he'll surprise in the postseason at times as well. Anyone else want to pick a dark horse team?
Is
Hey,
Soko a
Billy.
dark horse? Is Soko a dark horse? Or no?
At the beginning of the season, they were one of the favorites, but I mean, their point guard.
Okay, all right. So they're not. They're not.
Well, is their point guard? Is their point guard going to play? Coach, is he going to play
I-
at all?
I hear he was.
Yeah, I hear he was.
who
Too.
were you talking about? I missed it.
South County's
J-Mo.
point guard.
Oh, I thought he was supposed to be back at the end of December.
Yeah, or last week. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
so,
not. He did not play against Fairfax. I was
well,
there.
if he comes back, that makes a team completely different. So I can tell you that. But who knows how much basketball he's been playing in his time off. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyone
Well,
else?
I guess Alexandria City, right? Alexandria City.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
They-
They've had
you know.
a Dave Jolly, Chris Jolly. That was his dark horse team from the beginning of the year, and they've been very solid. They beat Potomac on at Potomac. Had some they beat Bishop Ireton at Ireton. They've had some nice wins this year.
Just won 3 games in 3 nights. They beat us at Woodson. They beat South County at South County and Lake Braddock at Lake Braddock 3 nights in a row, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, it's a nice team, very solid.
Yeah,
That's a-
Dave.
Hey,
And
that's
I,
a
I'm
great
gonna,
week.
he won't say it, but Coach House's team has improved maybe as much as anybody from the beginning of the year till now. I mean, they're playing. I watched some film. Sorry, Coach Houston, I watched your film. Yeah, I watched them. I was impressed with how they're playing. I had seen them on film early in the season. From what I see now, it's like a totally different team. So clearly he's pushing the right buttons with his group. I think, I've always felt that his teams, one of the things that Coach Houston does well is his teams get better as the season goes, and they're always a very physical, rugged kind of opponent. I think that style plays well in the playoffs. They always
It
have
does.
big, long, physical guys inside, and their guards can always defend. And I think his style in the playoffs meshes well because they play kind of a rugged kind of style of basketball.
That's one thing I would say. I'll say that too. Like the way that Houston coaches his teams, they're like built for playoffs more than they are for regular season. Like they're built to win that one particular game. So
Yeah.
I'll say that too.
Anyone else want to pile any more pressure on Coach Houston?
Yeah, Dave, you're playing really good, man. Keep it up. Hey, Bentley, Obie and McLean, dark horse.
Let me tell you
Ooh.
one thing about McLean.
Hey, I hear they're good, man.
McLean plays harder than anybody we played so far this year. I told Coach O'Brien, I said, you guys will turn it over and you don't even think about it. It's next play with those guys. And a lot of people say next play, don't believe in it. Heads go down. McLean plays so hard that they are definitely, you got to make sure you're watching out for them. Now, watching the other day against WNL, I was very shocked. And not saying that WNL didn't do what they were supposed to do, but I was very shocked. McLean didn't look like the same McLean team. So I hope that they continue moving forward and not going backwards. But those guys play hard and know how to play. So we'll see what happens. But I do like what O'Brien's doing over at McLean for sure, hands down.
I saw the Yorktown game, and they led from start to finish. They completely controlled the game. They moved the ball really well. Their big guy has a nice touch outside, number 21. Don't know his name. But I was impressed with them. I mean, they play a little bit of tempo, so they'll get 3 or 4 buckets in a row, and then they'll hold the ball for a minute. So a little bit different type of strategy than some of the teams you see, but they're going to be a tough out.
My experience with those Liberty District teams, and we used to play in the Liberty District a long time ago, is when they have good senior classes, those teams are really tough to beat because they usually play kind of an execution style and they run their stuff very well.
Yeah.
And when they have seniors that can kind of handle anything you throw at them,
Yeah.
they can be a very difficult out. That when I watched them play, I saw them play a couple times this summer. I've only seen them once this winter, but they seem like they were a little bit greater than the sum of their parts. They
Yeah.
seem to play well as a unit together. And sometimes those kind of teams they maybe don't have the high end talent that some of the other teams have, but they kind of complement each other well. They're that team this year. I could think of some other teams over the years. I felt like Madison had a team like that last year that maybe didn't have any great players, but they seem to have a lot of guys that kind of complemented each other well. And sometimes that could be a sneaky tough team in the playoffs because they're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah. One thing about Liberty, except for Wakefield, all the teams have small gyms, and the gyms are just rocking, especially on a Friday night. They're a great place to be. Wakefield's gym is big now because they put bleachers behind the baskets now. But I mean, most of the gyms there are tiny, and and they really do a great job of getting the kids to come out and support the teams.
So what's going on with Jefferson? I saw them play this fall, and I thought they had a couple really long, tall kids. They got a winning record in a conference. I haven't seen them play yet this winter.
Yeah,
but
I haven't even played them yet.
Yeah,
Our game got canceled, so we didn't get to play that. We didn't get to play that game, so it's like hard for me to really talk about them. But we'll play them in 2 weeks, back to back. So I'll get a chance if we ever had this conversation again. I'll talk about it.
The big kid in the middle is really good defensively. I don't know the name. He's really tall, like 6'8". He's really got really good defensive instincts. Like he and they mix in a lot of zone and man, they kind of mix it up. And he's a difference maker defensively. If you can be a difference maker defensively, he's pretty good. I do not know the name off the top of my head. I can't recall it, but
it almost upset Edison, by the way.
Yeah, he's a junior.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, they've had some nice surprising
The
games.
biggest question is, does Los know the rest of the teams in his district? Because before the season, this dude said, "Who else in my district?" Dog?
That was a mistake.
I remember that.
Listen, Los, I was so weak on that for days.
That was a mistake, man.
Like the
I
other
knew
coaches like this, they're like, "How are you not gonna know who we are? We still know it's about 40, but how are you not gonna know who?"
No, but sure,
I had a brain fart, man. I had a brain fart. That's all.
It's all good. It happens, brother.
Yeah.
but Sherm, you just said that Coach Harris at Woodbridge was a good coach, and when we had the meeting before, speaking of not knowing who people were, you go, "Who's their coach?"
Oh no! I didn't know it was dude from Lee.
Bentley jumped out of the seat.
I know who he is. I just didn't know his name.
But that you don't know who he is.
Listen, I know,
Like my kid said, I know the
like,
answer,
listen,
I just can't tell you.
listen,
Listen,
I
when you're on
remember
top
him
of the mountain, you don't have
always
to know
being
names
the game.
anymore.
He had the old man Bluetooth, the joint that go around your neck. When he was recruiting for Mary Washington. Los know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he always had that joint on. And he would be in Potomac
Yeah.
all the time. I'm like, yo, who is this guy? And it did, like I said, I didn't even know he was a coach for Lee because, you know, I didn't even know dudes who were on that team other than Val Brown because he shot the ball all the time.
Yeah.
I think he probably had between 5 and 10 Division I players.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I knew the success they team had. I just didn't know his name.
Yeah, CJ Vick. He had Chris Gooden.
Who was the dude they had that had the messed up
Mark
team?
Davis,
Mark Davis.
Macy.
Yo, that dude. Yo,
Kobe Turner, right?
Kobe Turner, yes.
Kobe Turner.
dude,
Bobby
the dude
Huntley.
Mark
Bobby
Davis.
Huntley.
Bobby Huntley was really good.
Yeah.
He had a whole bunch. He
Mark
had a whole
Bryant
bunch of
played
players.
George Mason, right?
Yeah.
Mark Bryant.
What about
Yo,
Yeah, Bryant played Mason as well.
Right.
Yeah.
This
Chris
off
Gooden.
subject of that, but Julian, you did the interview with Tony Stanley. Like, for some reason, like Tony Stanley's like name like feels like a celebrity to me because I was young when he was like really good.
The
And I
funny thing is
remember-
about Tony, I'll let Bentley speak to this, but people really didn't know a lot about him.
Man,
Because,
listen, I don't know why, but for some reason I heard his name all the time when
But
I was little
he's
and
a-
how good he was.
yeah.
Like I knew about him. I didn't know what school he went to. I just knew he was from Northern Virginia. So he was one of those dudes like, man, he going D1. We all can do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I just remember hearing about him all the time.
Well, I'll let Coach Bentley speak to this, but the thing about Tony was Washington Lee back then, like they'd always get upset, and so he never really got to the Final Four in the regional. So he never got that big stage as some of the our top players get. So he was kind of under the radar a little bit.
He was, and back then, man, our district was loaded with Billy Bill and those guys at West Potomac. I mean, every night, and then Stewart. Every night, there was no team we said, "Oh, we got them tonight. We can take it easy." Every night there was a good game. Every single night, Tony always put up numbers. His best chance of trying to get to the state, this dude on the call ruined it for him. Mike Desmond ruined it for Tony Stanley, right? Mike Desmond played one of the best games I'd ever seen a kid play in high school against Tony Stanley. And definitely I have the film to prove it because Mike made a copy of it, took it off of VHS and put it on a DVD for me. And for those that don't know, I know we on Tony Stanley, but go back to Mike. Those that don't know, Mike Desmond was a hell of a basketball player in high school. Tell you that. But Tony was everything that Bobby needed coming into being a young new coach. And Tony comes in from Philadelphia, man. And he was actually there, and I was there before Bobby. Tony comes in, it's like this 5'11" guard from Philly. And now if you from South Arlington, or where Tony was living at, but he had to go to WNL, all the WNL dudes wasn't cool with Tony because he was good. And it's all about, you ain't from here. We don't care who you are. But Tony was that good, man. And then finally when Bobby came in, it's like, yo, this dude's got to be on varsity, my man. It's not even close. And so Bobby saw him once, was like, not even close. But he put the work in, like he said on your interview. Tony was always at the gym. I mean, he was and trying to find pickup games, playing against older guys. He had that Philly mentality. And that was one of the hardest working dudes. When kids start talking about this kid or this, that, you're not going to get me to fall into that trap and say a kid from 2000 or kid from whatever. Tony Stanley was hands down one of the best players in this area. He was the player, he should have been the MVP of the Capital Classic game. They gave it to Mike James because he was going to Duke.
I remember.
And Tony
I
was
remember
going
that.
to Dayton. That's the only reason why Mike
No,
James.
I'm telling you, you
Yeah.
gotta remember, us being that, it was like different worlds because there's
Yeah.
no social media.
Yes.
But Tony Stanley, I heard about all the time. It was like
Oh, yeah.
Tony Stanley, like the dudes that was at TC that went to Georgetown, like
Yeah.
Damon Jackson, like we
Yeah.
heard about them all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, he
Tony's-
was
Yeah. I'm sorry, Coach, but Tony Stanley had one of the prettiest jump shots
It's
I've ever
smooth.
seen.
Hey,
I
We
have
call him
never
Silky-
seen a
Silky
kid.
Smooth.
His
Smooth.
release, his form was perfection every
His
single
nickname
time.
was Silky Smooth. We called him Silky Smooth. That
I
was
mean-
because of his jump shot.
It's
Yeah,
just-
he was good, man. He was good.
yeah.
One of the best, one of the best I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's good,
Sure.
man.
It's one of those guys, again, like Sherman saying that he didn't, you hear this name, but he doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah,
He's one of
No,
those guys.
I'll say that. He does
Yeah.
not.
yeah.
He's one of these
dope,
guys
man.
that's kind of been under the radar for a lot of years. So
Yeah,
I was glad that
he's
he
the
was.
one I bring up every single time.
Hey,
They had-
he was a kid who back then, we didn't play positionless basketball, right? You were this size, you're this position.
Yeah.
He was a tall guard, and Bobby
Yeah.
let him be a tall guard
Yep.
and saying, oh, you're 6'7", whatever, go post up. Nope.
Yeah.
He was
And
before his time.
Bobby ran everything through Tony,
Yep.
which he should have. He ran everything through Tony. Every set came through Tony. But then we had some good guys with Marcus Stewart, per year, Whitehead. We had a really decent team as well. So you couldn't really just, focus on Tony because Marcus Stewart, who went off to Winthrop and played ball, was really good. We had some players, but Tony was hands down. I got a chance as a young coach to see what a Division I athlete looks like and prepare to get to that level. And I've been looking for him ever since. But I got a chance to see what a Division I athlete, how he prepared himself and how his mannerisms and the whole nine. And I'm only like maybe 8 years older than Tony, because Tony's like 45, right? And I'm like, damn, you 45, Tony? What the hell? Like I was this young guy practicing every day with those guys and seeing it with him, but that guy was special. And for me to come along as a young coach to see somebody like that, I thought that's what it was going to be like my whole career.
I love the fact that he gave his coaches the credit too. I mean,
Oh.
so usually you ask, kids, why are you why'd you become such a great player? Why'd you accomplish this? And he said, look, he gave Tony Bentley credit. He gave Buck credit. But he said, Bobby Dobson taught me how to shoot. He said, look,
Absolutely.
you if you want to be a good shooter, you got to stop what you're doing and you got to rebuild your shot. And he gave Bobby the credit for a 17-year European career. I mean,
Wow.
it was great. Obviously you guys do this all the time. Coaches affect lives all the time, but it's great when kids appreciate their coaches.
Did Tony, did Mike Desmond have hair back in those days? Can we
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
hair.
he did.
film of that? Can I get film of that? A coach would like film of that.
I got you.
Thank you, coach.
Look, I had the Chantilly fade. All right.
I'm sure you did.
That was awesome, man.
So guys, man, this has been great. We went 2 hours again. We're supposed to go an hour, but time just flies by.
Hey,
Thanks for doing
listen,
it.
my wife, I said I got this call. She said, how long is this damn thing gonna be?
Hey, I'm supposed to go to the movies.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
It was your idea, coach. You brought it up. So it's your fault. Yeah. So
I love
no,
it though, guys. Love it.
yeah, appreciate you guys. Let's get together during either before or right after the postseason. Hey, good luck to you guys. You guys are doing great. Appreciate all you guys do. And let's keep it going.
Thank you,
Have a
Julie.
good one.
Thank you,
Thank
Julian.
you. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
Man,
us.
thanks. Appreciate you.
Yeah, enjoyed it, man. Enjoyed it, guys.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
fellas.
guys.
See you
Get a
guys.
haircut, Doug. Get a haircut.